Each spring, across Europe, Asia, and North America, millions of golden flowers appear in places no one planned them. That yellow has been feeding the world since before written history began. In 2019, archaeologists publishing in the Journal of Archaeological Science confirmed Brassica rapa seeds in Bronze Age deposits across Central Europe, placing deliberate human cultivation as far back as 2000 BCE. Yet today, that same plant is formally listed as a noxious weed in over 40 U.S. states, actively targeted by herbicide programs generating hundreds of millions in annual industry revenue. The industrial system declared it worthless. The historical record disagrees entirely. Medieval farming communities across northern Europe built entire oil economies around this single species. Roman agronomists wrote about it with the authority reserved for essential crops. Ancient Sanskrit texts treated it as both sacred and economically vital. The evidence stretches across 3 continents and 6,000 years. Something of this magnitude does not disappear by accident. It disappears by design. The golden field that once fed empires is now chemically erased before it can flower. This plant is Brassica rapa, field mustard. If the history of plants the modern world tried to erase speaks to you, consider subscribing. This channel exists entirely for that story. And before this video ends, there is one discovery about field mustard that will permanently change how you understand the entire Brassica family. 6,000 years before synthetic fertilizer existed, farmers across the Indian subcontinent cultivated Brassica rapa for its oil. Sanskrit texts from the Vedic period reference sarsan, the mustard field, as a crop of sacred and economic necessity. Its oil was not a condiment. It was fuel, preservation medium, and trade currency simultaneously. Roman agronomist Canola, writing around 65 CE in De Re Rustica, documented mustard cultivation across Gaul and Germanic territories with unmistakable authority. This plant moved across empires without losing its value. Medieval monasteries across France and England maintained mustard plots as essential components of their agricultural systems. The botanical logic was irrefutable. Field mustard required minimal soil preparation. It germinated in cold ground. It thrived in marginal land. It produced viable seed in as little as 60 days. No other crop offered that combination of speed, resilience, and yield. Peasant farmers understood something the modern system deliberately chose to forget. Hardiness is not a flaw, it is power. The most valuable crop is often the one that asks for nothing in return. History does not record field mustard as a weed. That classification came later, and it came for reasons that had nothing to do with botany. Field mustard leaves contain concentrations of vitamin K that measurably exceed those found in commercial kale. A 2016 analysis published in Food Chemistry documented exceptionally high glucosinolate levels in wild Brassica rapa populations, compounds linked by current research to significant cellular protective mechanisms. The plant also delivers calcium, iron, and folate in proportions rarely found combined in a single leafy species. Modern spinach, bred for tenderness and retail shelf life, carries a fraction of the mineral density its wild ancestors possessed. Field mustard was never bred for softness. It was never optimized for a plastic container. Its cellular structure remains as complex and dense as nature designed it. The numbers challenge every modern marketing claim about superfoods. Laboratory analysis reveals what the grocery industry does not advertise. Wild plants regularly carry nutritional profiles that centuries of domestication systematically erode. Brassica rapa, in its field form, is not a degraded version of something better. It is the original. Everything sold in produce aisles is the copy. Field mustard predates the concept of a superfood by 6 millennia. It never needed a label. It never needed marketing. The soil produced it freely. That was precisely the problem. Brassica rapa germinates in temperatures as low as 4 degrees Celsius. It requires no tillage, no irrigation in temperate climates, and no synthetic inputs. A single plant produces viable seed within 60 days, sometimes fewer. One mature plant releases over 10,000 seeds in a single growing season. These biological facts are precisely why the agrochemical industry invested in its systematic eradication. A crop that grows without purchased inputs generates zero product dependency. Herbicide-resistant Brassica rapa has been documented as one of the most persistent management challenges in North American canola production. The irony runs deep. Canola itself is a domesticated derivative of the Brassica rapa lineage. Industry created a chemical war against the ancestral species of its own most profitable crop. Glyphosate-based programs targeting field mustard in canola agriculture represent a multi-billion-dollar annual market globally. The economics are transparent once examined. Abundance is not profitable. Dependency is. The more resilient and self-sustaining a plant is, the more aggressively the industrial system works to eliminate it. Field mustard is not classified as a weed because it is useless. It is classified as a weed because it is free. Brassica rapa is among the earliest flowering plants in temperate zones, pushing through frozen soil while commercial crops remain dormant. This cold season endurance is not incidental. It is 6,000 years of evolutionary strategy. The plant blooms before most insect predators become active. It sets seed before summer drought conditions arrive. Ancient farming calendars across northern Europe marked field mustard's appearance as the first reliable signal of the growing season. For communities surviving on stored winter provisions, that yellow bloom was not decoration. It was a signal. The hungry season was ending. Historical agricultural texts from the Song Dynasty reference Brassica rapa greens as a documented component of peasant sustenance during spring scarcity periods. The plant's rosette growth stage, flat, frost-resistant, close to the ground, was historically harvested across East Asian traditions before the main growing season began. The biological resilience encoded in field mustard is the result of millennia of evolutionary pressure. Modern agriculture replaced that resilience with fragility. It replaced adaptability with annual dependency. Fields that once sustained themselves now require seasonal chemical intervention to produce anything at all. The plant that needed nothing was systematically replaced by systems that need everything. Field mustard remembers a different arrangement, and it still practices it every spring. Before petroleum became the dominant industrial lubricant, mustard oil powered economies across 2 continents. In pre-industrial South Asia, Brassica rapa oil served cooking, lamp fuel, ritual ceremony, and textile processing simultaneously. A single plant sustaining an entire material culture. The FAO's review of traditional oilseed crops documented Brassica rapa as one of the oldest continuously cultivated oil-producing plants in recorded human history. Its seed oil content ranges between 30 and 48%. Competitive with many modern commodity oilseed crops. Medieval European records document mustard oil's role in winter preservation of meats and root vegetables across northern agricultural communities. This was not primitive practice. It was sophisticated biochemical knowledge developed across generations. The shift away from mustard oil in Western agriculture was not caused by the discovery of superior alternatives. It was caused by industrial consolidation and the standardization of soybean and canola as globally controlled commodity crops. Soy and canola could be patented. Their supply chains could be owned. Their genetics could be licensed. Field mustard's oil could not be owned. It grew freely in hedgerows, roadsides, and abandoned margins, ungovernable and unmonetizable. The economic logic of elimination was simple. Replace the commons with commodities. Replace abundance with dependency. The oil that lit medieval lamps is now classified as agricultural contamination. Here is the fact that was promised at the beginning of this story. The same field mustard that agrochemical companies spend hundreds of millions to eliminate has begun transferring its genetic resilience directly into commercial canola crops. Research published in Molecular Ecology documented measurable gene flow between wild Brassica rapa populations and cultivated canola fields. Wild plants, cross-pollinating commercial varieties, and introducing herbicide tolerance genes into the very crop meant to replace them. The plant being erased is simultaneously rewriting the genetic code of the crop designed to succeed it. Nature does not accept extinction without response. Field mustard is, botanically, the ancestral species from which turnip, bok choy, Napa cabbage, and canola were all derived through centuries of selective pressure. The weed is the original. The profitable crop is the modification. Scientists now categorize this process as crop weed gene flow, a phenomenon that agricultural biotechnology is actively struggling to contain. The harder the industry pushes herbicide programs, the faster wild populations develop resistance and transfer it back. Selection pressure accelerates evolution. The industrial war against field mustard is producing the most herbicide-resilient Brassica populations ever documented. What was designed for elimination is becoming biologically unkillable. The golden field is absorbing every chemical thrown at it and answering with stronger seeds. 6,000 years of evolutionary intelligence cannot be cancelled by a quarterly earnings report. The modern world does not yet understand what it is losing. Field mustard represents a category of botanical knowledge that required 6,000 years to accumulate. Agricultural communities across 3 continents developed sophisticated systems around this single species: selection timing, soil relationship, seasonal reading of growth. That knowledge was rarely written in marketable form. It was carried in seasonal practice, in memory, in the rhythm of hands working the same ground across generations. When a plant is declared a weed, all knowledge surrounding it is declared worthless simultaneously. The eradication is never only botanical. It is cultural. It is historical. It is a deliberate act of institutionalized forgetting. Field mustard still grows in the margins, along fence lines, in disturbed soil, in the cracks of managed agriculture. It has not surrendered. It blooms yellow every spring with complete indifference to its legal classification. The question is not whether Brassica rapa will survive the industrial system. The evidence strongly suggests it will outlast every herbicide program ever designed against it. The real question is whether human understanding of this plant will survive, or whether the knowledge dies quietly with the last generation that held it. The soil remembers what the system has tried to forget. The golden field will return. It always has.